Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Powerhouse Podcast. I have to tell you, I am absolutely delighted and thrilled with the guests that we are going to have an opportunity to learn more about in just a moment. But as you know, this is our opportunity to have the big, courageous conversation. This is an opportunity for us to redefine what it means to be a leader in today's environment. And it all starts with how we choose to show up, how we choose to serve others, and how we choose to take that responsibility. So as I said, I am super excited because not only is my guest just an absolute powerhouse and cannot say how thrilled I am to have her in the ring with us today, but she is also a dear friend and someone I have had the pleasure of getting to know over the last couple years. And I cannot wait for you to see why I adore Laura Rubinstein. So first of all, let me just say welcome, Laura.
Hi, Candy. Great to be here and playing with you.
Yes, I can't wait. We're going to play today. And so I am excited because let me tell you a little bit about Laura. Laura is the best-selling author of Social Media Myths Busted. It's a little hard to say. The Small Business Guide to Online Revenue and the founder of the Social Buzz Club. This is an online influencer network of entrepreneurs who build brand visibility for each other using a gamified content sharing platform. It's amazing. When you need a strategy to revitalize your business or an innovative marketing approach for bottom line growth, Laura is a wealth of insider information, resources, and tactics. She's an award-winning digital media and marketing professional whose passion for fueling visions and igniting brands brings them to a whole new level. Her portfolio includes supporting more than 1,000 businesses like American Express cruise planners, top financial planners across North America, teen empowerment brands, well-funded startups, consultants, and best-selling authors. She is a powerhouse. She also lives in San Diego with her beloved husband, Kevin. She enjoys cooking, hiking, traveling, and when she is not crafting amazing, incredible, just phenomenal social media strategies for her clients. Again, let me just say, so glad to have you on the show.
Just great to be here.
So Laura, talk a little bit about how you started playing in social media at the level that you're playing. I mean, you are a big powerhouse in this industry. And so talk to us a little bit about your journey.
Well, like you mentioned, I've actually been in marketing since, I like to say, before this century. And everything I ever did in marketing was relationship based. So I wasn't the mass media type of marketer. I'm the relationship, the one who works with the small business entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm so passionate about that because, and you might agree with this, and I don't know if you've looked at it this way, but the small business owner, that entrepreneur, in my opinion, are the ones who's going to change the planet. The change makers. They're the ones who are hands-on with people, one-on-one, making a difference. They're not just providing a widget, or a mass-produced something or other. They're the ones getting in and boutique servicing people. And so I've always done that. And then in 2008, what happened? We all know, two things happened. The financial world crashed, and most of my clients at that time that I was helping with marketing strategies were financial advisors. So they had other things to deal with. And I, at the same time, a couple of years before that, started noticing social media. LinkedIn was getting, you kept getting all these messages in your inbox. Facebook was like all the craze. I actually hired some people to help me market some products I had with Facebook. And I got really interested. I'm like, big, huge light bulb said, this is the relationship building marketing platform on steroids. So I dove in. I had more time because my clients went to hide under a rock for a little bit. Not all of them, but I had a little bit more time, and I reinvented myself, but using this strong foundation of relationship-based marketing, but then learned how to do it online. And I said, every one of my clients needs to know about this. Every one of the small business owners I network with needs to know about this because the playing field has been leveled. We have a huge opportunity. Now, that's 10 to a dozen years ago that this basically happened. And ever since, I've been evolving with the internet, basically, and marketing. But I am a marketer first and a social media marketer second. So I love social media, but you can't abandon the messaging. You can't abandon the traditional principles of marketing, targeting your audience and really being able to master how do you connect with people. And so in 2011, a co-founder and I developed the Social Buzz Club, and this was a way for people to help each other build influence. And by sharing each other's content and gamifying it. Gamification has become really popular, but we've been doing it since 2011. And it's about how to make it fun and rewarding to share others' content and get your content shared. So I don't know how much more you want me to go into, but
well,
I
I've
really
got a like million questions that are starting
okay. Go. You go for it.
Speaking of Social Buzz Club, right? So first and foremost, I want to back up just a little bit. I think sometimes we miss opportunities when we use words that everyone kind of goes, "Yeah, I get that." And what we really don't realize is there's probably deeper definitions around what we mean when we say X. And so I hear a couple, business bingo buzzwords that kind of are running around. And one of them starts with really just the basic around relationship building.
Okay.
And I want to have a little bit of a conversation with you to explore when you say relationship building, especially when it comes to marketing and social media. I want to really get some perspective around what does that mean and what might be maybe either the pitfalls or the misses that some people either have an oversight around or they just don't understand it. Because I think it's really easy to say, oh, I get relationship building in marketing. And from what I've seen out there, there's a lot of people that don't. And so I'd really like to get your perspective on what does that really mean when you say that?
Well, if you're not getting business, you're probably not developing those relationships. That's a symptom properly. To develop relationships, when we talk about it in marketing, it's very similar to how you develop relationships personally. However, I have had people say, with regard to social media, I don't want to be everybody's best friend on social media. And, I don't have time for that. It seems like a burden. I don't like these people.
Right.
All right. So that attitude will set you back. It's not so much that you have to spend the time investing in every single person to, go visit their grandmother in the hospital. Okay. That's what a friend would do and develop a relationship. But it's more like, what are they craving? You really have to know your audience with regard to what you can help them with and what you want to help them with. How can you serve them and build credibility and trust with them? So relationships are built on building that trust, building rapport, building credibility, and giving service. So how can you do those three things really well in a somewhat repetitive yet not feeling like they're a number? It's a delicate art. It's not easy. And I'm glad you asked the question because it's a deep answer that I wish, this is what I do for work. This is what I consult with clients on. It's like, okay, well, what's your style? What's the needs of your clients? How do we meet in the middle so that everybody feels like you're not expending the energy that's draining you, but you're building a relationship that they feel is valuable. And a couple of years ago, I got the term became really popular, content marketing. Maybe it started maybe 4 or 5 years ago to hit like traction. But what that means, another bingo word you said, you might say, is it's producing information that you're an expert in that offers value to somebody. So it's how-to articles, it's information, or it's entertaining, or it's what we call edutaining. I have a colleague, she teaches people how to develop websites. So what did she do? She created a video, but she did it fun. She went in character. She pretended she was Julia Childs, and she did a little video on how to cook a blog. And basically, that was the steps you need to take to set up a WordPress site. And it was delightful, informative, and something that people can really connect with and know her personality a little bit. And she could repurpose that over and over and over in a blog, do snippets on Instagram, take it and put it on Facebook natively, put it on YouTube natively, and just to have people share it. You could use something like the Social Buzz Club to have people share that out. So, but that just makes you feel like, oh, I understand who this woman is and that she has this expertise and she's fun. And there's a relationship just by her bringing out a part of her that likes to act, Now, if you don't like to act, that's fine. There's something you do well or naturally that's you that people like you for. And that you can incorporate into bringing your expertise. And it could simply be just sharing your expertise in a blog, in a downloadable PDF, in a video. So there's tons of ways to bring out that content. And then it's about getting the word out about it, using your email list, using your social media. So that's sharing of content. Then you can build a relationship. Okay, so when you go to a networking meeting, the first thing you do when you go up to somebody is you shake their hand. Hi, and you introduce yourself. On social media, a handshake is liking a post, is asking them to be a friend, is following them. It's saying, I like to know more about you, right? And I like what you're about, what I see. It's a nod. So when you're actually being very positive about somebody else publicly, that builds a relationship. Wishing them a happy birthday, all that kind of stuff. The things we just have to think, how do we do this in person when we can go out and network? And the first rule of networking is give first. So that goes back to the content, giving content. Don't give away your whole system. And even if you give away the whole system, a lot of people can't do it without your guidance. So if you're an information type, if you're training people, basically, even if you train them visually to 60%, some are do-it-yourselfers anyway. They're not your market. But it's the people who want to do it with you that is your market, that's going to say, wow, this person has amazing information that I definitely need to get inside their brain and do what they do. Frank Kern said, and he's a huge internet marketer, give your best stuff away free.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll want
right
more.
there, and I want to actually play on that a little bit, because there's so much that you shared that was just so powerful. First of all, I think for everyone listening, the simplicity of what Laura's sharing with you around the same basic principles in terms of building relationship, whether you're out and about and seeing people in person, or whether you're online and trying to create that connection, the same basic principles apply. It is about that giving mentality, being a servant first, putting that out there. And I love Frank Kern, and I love that he says that, because I think there's so many people that are so paranoid and so fearful of putting anything of quality out because they're afraid someone's going to steal it, or they're afraid the competition's going to do something. And when you get out of that scarcity mentality of thinking, oh, there's competition or there's someone out there, and you realize, because one of the things that I hope people really heard, and I'm going to repeat it because I think it warrants having that, deeper integration and having it really soak in for a minute, is that space around even when, I won't even say if, even when you give your best stuff, most people still need your guidance to help carry you through. I tell people all the time when they'll ask for my slides after presentation. And I'm like, yes. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're going to share your whole slide deck. I said, if you can do what I do simply from my slide deck, then there's no reason I need to be doing what I'm doing. And the thing is Laura, you and I know this, but we could both be out there. We could be scripted. We could have the same slides, the same tools, the same everything, even work on our same mannerisms in the same way we deliver, which would almost be impossible. We are two totally different personalities and energy types. That being said, we could still do everything 100% the same. And yet we would resonate with people differently, because people are drawn to people sometimes for inexplicitly, reasons. And it's just a natural energy of attraction that has no other explanation other than to say, that's my person and that's not. And I think people overthink that so much and get into a space of, I couldn't possibly give my best. I have learned that by putting my best, and I think it's interesting because I'd rather have the comment, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, the comment of, Candy, you share too much. I get that. I get told that all the time. You share too much. And I look at it as, I don't think that's possible. I don't think it's possible to share too much. And if I've shared that much, the right people show up and say, I want even more, or I need your help, as you said, for that guidance through that path. And so love, 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 love that you went there and said that.
there's two parts of that shared too much that makes me think. So I'm not sure what you're referring to, but let's just talk about both.
Mhm.
One is you give too much away for free is maybe what's implied there. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think you get that sense of, I can't believe you're doing this for free, or you're doing this for such a low entry price.
Right. Well, I think that's the generosity, the trust building, the credibility
Right.
building, and the relationship building, and I think it's huge. And um, it's a dynamic. It's very dynamic what happens in terms of what you give. You'll learn what to give over time.
Mm-hmm.
You know that giving a lot more works for you, and you're going to give. You want to do it. It gives you energy to give. Those are all good signs. Keep doing it. If it drains you, if you're not getting results, then you have to, evaluate. There's also the giving too much of like fire hose in the face.
Yes.
That will turn away people. If they can't consume it, you can't absorb it, they're like, a confused mind typically will say no.
Yes.
So if you've confused them, overwhelmed them with too much, then there's a balance. There's really
and I love the distinction between that, because I do think there is a big difference in talking about giving so much from a generosity standpoint, because you're right. We have an internal gauge that says, am I energized by giving, or am I drained? Because that is a sign that most people don't recognize. And it comes down to people that don't know how to value their worth and don't know how to charge what they're actually, the value that they're delivering. And so there's that side of it. And yes, that's the part that I love when people say you give too much, because for me, that is how I'm wired. And I know that for the right people, the universe always balances that out for me. There is the other side. And I will say, even for myself included, because I can be the fire hose myself. Because I get so excited, right? And I just want to share and share and share. And I found that, especially when I start doing some of my masterminds and my online training and even my workshops, that I'm constantly pulling out things every time. That my 3-day, people are like, God, that was more powerful than the last time. And it has half the content that I had the last time. And every time I go in, I find myself almost cutting half out. I find myself cutting another, and providing that space to let them really integrate. Because there is a really juicy power in letting people dance in that space, play in that space, and go really deep on something that's high value, and go into 1 or 2 or 3 things versus trying to give them the breadth of everything that you do. And I know you and I both have a shared friend who, she likes to say, take people where they're at and bring them to where you want. And you have to acknowledge that where we are, and I think where people get really maybe jammed up a little bit, is they're like, well, I just assume everybody already knows this. This is so easy. But that's why you're the expert in that space. That's that trust that you're talking about that you get to demonstrate. And so I love that you made that distinction.
Well, I want to highlight what you said, because a couple of things. One is, you said, I often talk about meeting people where they're at and taking them to your level of expertise. In marketing, how that plays out is, so many people want to talk about what they're expert at and what they do, but that's not where people are. It doesn't really matter up or down, but people are here. They have a problem. They have a craving for something, a deep desire. You have to meet them at that desire. You may think I'm also a certified hypnotherapist, so a lot of people would come to me for weight loss. They want weight loss, but really what they need, they want weight loss. What they need, and as the expert, I know they need a self-esteem, rewiring in their brain, okay? Because they don't have the confidence. They have things that hurt them in the past, that kind of thing. So if I start saying we're going to heal your past and get you more self-confidence, it's just like, who cares? Like, they don't care about that. I know that's going to make the hugest difference for them. They want to lose weight.
Right.
So I got to say, are you ready to finally get over your lifelong challenge with your weight? And they're like, yes. How did you know? This feels like a lifelong thing that never will go away. And I'm desperate. And I'm afraid that I will be stuck in this pattern forever. And if I can talk to them at what they're thinking in their mind, huge. That's a huge relationship builder. That's a huge, meet them when they're at. Then you can work on getting them over to what it really is they need. And you take them through a process, and you have to be very, very basic. And that fire hose could, we have to be careful about it. You and I are people who have to definitely be careful about, because we want them to have this confidence to achieve
Right.
their dreams and do this. And we're so passionate. We know they can do it. And so I want to say to people that don't be afraid yourself to be a fire hose.
Yeah.
Just be aware and then shift it as you recognize it. We all have to go out there. The reason I wrote the book, Social Media Myths Busted, The Small Business Guide, was because we all have these phrases in our own head, our thoughts and our own esteems to deal with. You mentioned it. We have the scarcity mentality. And I want to invite people to take a breath. And then a breath of courage. I know you're like so huge at helping people be more courageous in life. It takes courage to go out there and give. And to kind of flop. But those are failing forwards, Those are
and that breath of courage. Because we talk about the power of the pause, right? Sometimes you just need to slow down or pause, and there's so much power in just taking a breath. And I like inhaling that courage, right? Stepping into the space, that breath of courage. I'm gonna have to borrow that frame from you, Laura. And what I like though, and really am starting to, I want to play a little bit with is some of the language, because I know even for myself, and as we talked about, there is the opportunity that we all have that fire hose, especially, and I've noticed for me that when I get more nervous or I'm fearful, I want to be even more fire hose, because there's almost that need for validation, right? And I watch this with the executives I work with. I watch this with professionals and entrepreneurs and emerging leaders, and it doesn't matter, but especially people that are hardwired for success, when they feel threatened or when they feel vulnerable or when they feel that fear start to surface, their language starts to change, that they feel the need to be even more articulate. They feel the need to give more and more and more, almost as if it's a way to validate and say, I am important. And instead of doing the opposite, which I like so much that you said, dumb it down. Because I tell people constantly, I said, you got to think about how to deliver your stuff at a kindergarten to fifth grade level, and almost do the, life coaching for dummies 101 or that. And I said, not to be patronizing or condescending to your audience, but to realize that for most people, the terminology, the phrasing, the language that you've gotten so accustomed for using because you're in that industry, you're an expert, is not the language that's going to attract and create, and I love your word, the crave, right? Create that crave that makes people instantly say, yeah, you're my person because you're speaking my language. And so I just, I wonder, as we think about that space, do you see that a lot from people when they get into marketing, that almost over analysis or that over languaging or positioning or posturing, or man, I'm going to come up with the really big words, and they spend so much time trying to come up with the right words instead of just talking from the hip and from the heart and bringing people in?
Well, two things on that. One is, I like to say, find the crave. You don't create the crave. You find their crave. Because if you find the crave, you'll get the rave.
Ooh, love.
All right. And then the second thing about that is, I have a great image of this woman with a megaphone and two guys like holding their hands to their ears. And my caption to that is, they can't hear you if you're not listening. So take a breath and listen to them. Don't just shoot from the hip. Listen to them. Because then you'll know what to say. Ask a question. So when you're in a marketing or sales position and you're trying to enroll somebody in your work to help them, you're being of service. We get in our own way because we want the sale. But you've got to be of service. And to serve them best, you need to know their problem. To know their problem best, ask them questions. Because to know what they're craving, you have to verify if you've got it. So are you like this? Do you want this? Is there more of that you want in your work, in your life? What have you tried in the past? Because they may not be the right fit for you. And you might be getting more and more fire hosing because they're not the right fit. But you have no clue because you haven't listened. You haven't explored. And, I always like when I'm coaching people to talk about if you go to a doctor and you say, "Doctor, I have a cold," and he says, "Okay, take this prescription, you'll be fine." Or you go to another doctor and the doctor says, "Okay, well," you say, "Doctor, I have a cold," and he says, "Well, how long have you had this cold? What are your symptoms? Are you sneezing or coughing or both? Is your phlegm this color or that color?" And he goes on and asks you all the questions. And he says, "Okay, well, you don't have a cold. You actually have allergies. And here's what you need to do for your allergies."
Right.
Now, even if the diagnosis was the same, let's say it was the same. Here, you have a cold, go take this medicine. Who do you think has the better rapport with the patient?
Mm-hmm.
The one who took the time to ask the questions and find out. The one who asked the question also is positioned as a bigger expert, a better expert, because obviously he has a whole repertoire he's thinking of this could be. This one, the other guy had just one solution.
Yeah. And that's so powerful. And I just want to joke, yes, we're talking about phlegm on the show today. So I just love that. But I mean,
authentic.
What a perfect analogy. And I know the picture that you're talking about, because even as we talk about, leadership and we define what it means to be a leader, and there's a whole acronym, the very first letter L is listen for understanding. And it's that space of not having that agenda. It's that space around, I get people that it amazes me with some of my clients that'll say, "Oh, well, how do I close them in the first?" I said, your only close in the first meeting should be to get another meeting if they're the right person. It's about qualifying and dequalifying. And I think that's so powerful that most people get so caught up in, I've got to have that sale, that they forget that there's a lot of power in dequalifying people that aren't for you and giving them value by, and there's many times where I'll have a prospective client that'll say, "I want to work with you." And they get very excited. And I'm like, "Thank you. And I think you would be better served going down this route."
Yeah.
And all of a sudden a lot of them will say, "Oh, thank you. You scared me." Or they'll say, "Oh, thank you. I didn't think about it." I said, "Because that's not my wheelhouse." And from what I'm hearing you say, if I'm going to serve you in the right way, then I think you need to work with this coach that focuses on this. And it's amazing how they end up being the biggest referral source for me, or the person that gives a testimonial. And it was the same thing when I was in corporate. I would work with sales individuals to say, stop trying to pull something out of your sales bag in the first meeting. I said, I would meet with so many customers where we didn't even have a discussion around sales in the first 5 meetings, because I had to understand what was going on in their business. And yes, sometimes I walked away and said, "You know what? Your best option would be to take one of our subcontractors for the lighting project and pay them directly, than have the overhead for me as a project manager." Now, when the $2.5 million retrofit for their entire school came up, they didn't go to RFP. They called us immediately and said, "You're the only one we want to work with." And that's the beauty of the relationships that you're talking about. And I really love how you talk about, it's not about creating the crave, it's finding the crave and you'll get the rave. And I know that you do that so successfully. I know you do that not only for yourself and with everything you've built with Social Buzz Club, but you're also doing that with your clients directly. And, we've been talking about and playing in this space this whole year around imagining a bigger game, imagining the possibilities around what that really means. And as you start to take some of these tools around gamification, and you take this way that you're creating this really rich, juicy buzz for people to get connected into, what does that mean for you, Laura? When you start thinking about the imagine if, and you start moving into a space of like bigger possibilities, what excites you and what do you start to dance in as a result of that?
Well, I've been really focused on taking the Social Buzz Club to a whole new level. We're white labeling it. That's a huge jump.
Nice.
It's a huge vision for me to have other organizations benefit from the power of their tribe. They're the people who already are raving about them, about their work, but helping their communities support each other in getting the word out about each other. Because wouldn't it be great if all these communities, or if communities came together and really helped build buzz for the positive things we're doing as entrepreneurs for each other? Whether it's entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, podcasters, could be artists, could be spiritual workers, health and wellness professionals, buzzing out for each other, building each other up, getting into that abundance mentality, and really blowing out the scarcity mentality out of the water. That's really my vision, is that good people are flooding the conversation with positive, very useful information that builds each other's credibility, influence, and serves people in a higher way.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And I want everyone to just take a moment and imagine right now. Imagine if you were to go out on any social media platform, especially Facebook. I want you to imagine going on Facebook. And if 99.9% of what you saw on your feed was something that lifted other people up, that was this bigger, courageous conversation, that was this buzz that Laura's talking about, that's building tribe and community and helping people grow and learn. And imagine if every time you opened up your feed in any channel, that all you were seeing was the ways that we were creating abundance and more positive change and influence and impact. Because honestly, my eyes are watering right now thinking about that. I get excited about that. I think about, and it's one of the reasons I love the thought leaders that, like Laura, that I get to bring to the table here, because these are people that are creating massive influence. These are people that are creating global levels of change. And it starts with us playing in that space of imagine if. It's that imagine. And so I really want you to, as my eyes are really watering right now, to think about imagine if. Just a minute, let it wash over you. Imagine if the conversation we started to have day-to-day, interacting live on video, on our social media platforms, was a space where it was all about how we could lift, support, love, and influence each other to be greater, to bring in more prosperity, to have abundance, to give and to serve. I mean, just, wow. I'm literally crying right now. That is just so delicious.
And that gave me a whole new idea, create an abundance buzz club.
Oh, I love that. Oh, sign me up.
Imagine if, right?
Imagine if. I'm literally bawling right now because I just think about how beautiful. And the reason why I'm crying is because it's not one of those, well, it may happen someday. I really believe, and with all of you listening right now, this audience, we have the power to create that kind of massive change. And it takes us all stepping into that space to believe, imagine if. And so, gosh, Laura, I mean, wow. And so before I even forget, because I know we're getting close on time here, and I absolutely want to have you come back because, wow, this would be just so great to dance in this space further and play with this, right? And see what an abundance buzz club might feel like. Let's test it out. Let's do it. But how can people get a hold of you? I know there's people right now going, oh, yeah, sign me up. Abundance Buzz Club, Social Buzz Club. Tell me more. I want to be a part of that movement you're talking about because it really is a movement. It's a space to say, let's relinquish that scarcity model and stand in something that's more meaningful. How can they get a hold of you?
Well, certainly they can email me or come over to the socialbuzzclub.com. I'm on Twitter at Coach Laura, Instagram at Coach Laura R, Facebook Coach Laura and Coach Laura R. So feel free to look me up. You just go to laurarubinstein.com. You'll find me.
Awesome. And for those of you that are listening, all of that information is below in the show notes. Make sure you reach out to Coach Laura, reach out to Laura, see what she's doing, get involved, get out there and be part of this buzz movement that is just, it's so powerful. It lights me up, as you can see and hear. And so Laura, as we're closing things out, and first of all, if I may ask, would you please come back and join us for another conversation?
I'd love to. This is amazing.
More and wonderful. And what if you could maybe summarize some of what we talked about, or add another just beautiful golden nugget? What would you like to leave this audience with as they're just feeling all this energy that we're sharing right now?
I think something we alluded to but didn't quite say was trust the process. You have something rich and amazing and something that makes a difference. If you know in your heart of heart you have that to offer, take that deep breath and take action. Just do something. Be in action. Don't let your fear win. Let your vision win. Go for it. Reach out. If you need support, get support. If you need a community, get a community. If you need a coach, get a coach. If you need marketing, get marketing. If you don't know what you need, start asking questions of people. Like, I think I need something. Who do you know? If you stay in that curiosity mindset, when you have a fear, if you can take that fear, take a breath, turn it into a curious moment. Like, I wonder what that's about. What can I do? Where do I want to go? And then let that guide you. Trust it. Step into it. You will. If you fail, it's okay. Failure is not a problem. Failure is, or it's really, I like the word mistake. And notice I'm saying it as 2 words, mistake. It's just an opportunity to learn what you could do better next time. So I'm just so excited for people to share their good work. And that's what gives me juice, is fueling other people's passions. So go out and take that breath and go for it.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, and to just say that again, I mean, that breath of courage that Laura's talking about. And the thing is we all have mistakes. And that's part of the beautiful journey of this process in our life and the ability to step into our gifts. And so I truly hope that you'll take that breath of courage, and that you'll let yourself dance in that curiosity and truly open up the opportunity to trust the process, trust yourself, trust the gifts that you've been given, and know that leadership is your opportunity. Know that leadership's a choice. It's a choice in how you choose to show up. It's a choice in how you choose to serve others. And it's a choice in how you choose to take personal responsibility inside that space. And it starts with that breath of courage. And it starts with you saying yes to yourself and destroying the noise that might be getting in your way. So with that, I hope you make it a phenomenal rest of your day. I hope you are daring to step into a space of greatness and your gifts. And with that, just know I'm sending you huge heart-to-heart hugs. I love you. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you to my beautiful and amazing and just heart-centered, wonderful guest, Laura Rubinstein. I love you with my whole heart, my entire soul, and just so blessed that you're in my life. To the rest of you listening, I love you as well. Thank you, and we'll catch up with you next time. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode, as I have some more powerhouse leaders lined up for you, and some of them that are going to come and make return appearances again. So we'll catch up with you guys next time.